generative AI is one of those fantastic buzzwords. Can you tell us a little bit more about the relevance and impact on the customer experience, why we need to worry about that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We see generative AI as really an opportunity to really drive more productivity and really enhance the product experience, right? So to put it into context, when we think about the customer experience today, right, a bank can interact, or a customer can interact with their financial institution for a number of reasons, right? You're opening a new account, you're servicing a customer, right, throughout their life cycle. Maybe there's a dispute, a complaint, right? Something that needs to be filed where the customer is engaging with their financial institution. Today, the starting point is we see that there's been a lot of investment in how do you create a good digital experience for the customer to create that request. But then when you look behind the scenes, you see that there's a lot of manual work, right? And not a lot has been automated, right? So you have legacy systems, you have people that are working across disparate systems to do their work. You see that teams are connected through email. And so our view is really step one is just creating a digital layer, right? Where you're connecting the customer to the people that are doing work on behalf of the customer. And then you can start to drive more automation. But then we can take that a step further with generative AI, right? So think about now someone's working on the same digital platform, right? So a customer comes in with a request, or maybe they've had a chat interaction, right? And they've created a request. Now you can do something like take that chat interaction and create an automatic summary, right? So a live agent or someone that's doing work on behalf of a customer can now take this and get a snippet, right, or a succinct summary of what happened versus having to look through the entire history. You can also think more downstream, right? Things like case summarization, right? So someone comes in weeks later to do some work on behalf of the customer. Say it's a dispute that can take many weeks to resolve. Now you can take case summarization and create a summarized view, right, of what has happened throughout this customer journey. Once you're done, you can create a draft of wrap-up or resolution notes, right, rather than having to type everything in. So what this really means, back to your question on the customer experience, is one, you make employees a lot more productive, right? You drive a lot of automation in those interactions. And as a result, you can spend more time with the customer, right? And provide a better experience to the customer and provide responses faster to customers.
That sounds like a great efficiency gain if you don't have the, excuse me, don't have to untangle. I think there was a spaghetti bowl image picture that was presented yesterday this web of information and have that streamlined. How does then the buy-in framework, where does that come into play in this context?
Yeah, so as we're thinking about Gen AI and as we're building capabilities to really drive that automation, right, within a financial institution, what we're doing is we're looking at teams, right? So I mentioned that there's teams that sit in different places, they're working on different systems, they're working across teams, and that work is not always automated, right? Because you're relying on email. And so as we're building capabilities, we're saying, okay, here's a team, here's a product set, right, that's relevant. So for example, for cards, right, credit cards. And so we take that, we look at the buy and service landscape, right, and we identify that there's a service domain for credit cards, right? And under that service domain, as one example, there's a process around credit card disputes, right? And how do you handle chargebacks around credit cards? And so we align to that, right? And we say, okay, here's a process that sits within the credit card service domain. And then we build out capabilities, right? We build out workflow. We identify what are the data attributes that we need, what are the workspaces that are relevant, the reporting that's relevant. And then generative AI just builds on top of that, right? So we build this experience, we build the workflow, and then we determine what capabilities around generative AI can actually drive more automation in the process, right? So as an example, like what I mentioned around case summarization, right? Looking at those chargebacks, right, or those disputed transactions, and actually leveraging case summarization within that process to be able to summarize what could be a multi-week process into a nice summary that an agent can pick up and determine what they need to do. A very relevant use case in credit cards is you have the card network rules that publish these are the things that you need to think about to determine whether a transaction is eligible to be disputed. So we can query that document and provide recommendations back in a very intuitive way so the agent knows how to handle this on behalf of the customer. So again, what we're doing is we're saying, okay, there's a process. That process maps to a service domain within the buy-in landscape. And then we really build kind of a set of capabilities aligned to that service domain.
So increased efficiencies and an much easier life for any customer interacting with the bank going forward. Looks very positive for 2021.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Tammi.
Thank you.